and myself and Nick have been running these workshops around Leeds and further afield with incubators, accelerators with startups just like yourself. I actually seem to know many of you that are in the chat here as well, so it's good to see some old familiar faces. Just to give you an idea, before me and Nick do some introductions, just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover today. As Chris said, we want to make this session as interactive as possible. We're going to be asking you some questions, so please find out where that chat function is so that we can see your answers as we go through. Q&A, always really welcome. I think the value from these sessions really come when you're able to ask questions and get personalized advice. So we will try to do that as much as possible for you guys. So what are we going to cover? We're going to look at what your barriers to growth are. We're going to look at some big ideas around what growth actually is and where this comes from whenever you're creating a new product or service. We'll probably say product a lot within this talk, but really that is interchangeable. If you're creating a service-based business or you are creating a tech product, it means the same thing, and we'll talk to you about what that is. We're going to introduce you what the growth pyramid is, which is a little framework that myself and Nick have been talking about the last couple of months, and really has come out of these common patterns that we see in all of the businesses that we work with. And we're going to teach you how to plug the gaps that you've got within your business and how you go about working out what those are. And if you stick around to the end, we're going to bribe you with free access to something called the Growth OS, which is a template framework based in Notion. If you know what that is, it's a free kind of software online that will take you through some of the exercises we're going to touch on here today. There is some guided work in there, so you'll be able to take this and put it into action. We do not want this to just be a session where you hear some great ideas, you walk away and nothing changes in your business. I want you messaging me in 3 months' time saying, that really was the kickstart to us seeing wild growth, and action is the key word here, which we will cover, and accountability sprints, lest we forget that. So Nick, do you want to explain a little bit about what the Growth Academy is and why we actually set this up?
Love to. Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Just echo Lee's comments there. So the Growth Academy, Lee and I met about 6 or 7 months ago and realized we both have a passion to help people build great businesses. And one of the common things we found people that we met would talk about is growth feels hard, right? And even if you've done it before, it can feel really hard. It feels different economy, different challenges, different stage to your growth, different size of your business, whatever it might be. What we want to do in the Growth Academy is work with founders like you to help you get through that phase, build really great foundations for your growth, and make sure that where you get to is a place where your business attracts paying customers faster and at an ever increasing value. So you avoid that struggle as much as possible where we're saying, where's the growth coming from? I'm sure we all run businesses. We've all been in that space of thinking, what is going on? Where's the cash flow? 2 things are important to a business, aren't they? One of them is cash. And the other is knowing where your customers are coming from and knowing that they love buying from you. So that's why we set up the Growth Academy. And as Lee said, we've been working with a few incubators and accelerators around here. And what we've realized is that the language that we use around this doesn't seem to particularly blow minds. It's not anything new, but what we're going to do is hopefully the scales will just fall from your eyes and you're going to see there are actions that you can take today and tomorrow and next week that really are going to propel you towards growth that you won't have seen before. And that's our intention, our hope with Growth Academy.
Absolutely. So Nick, I think it's probably worth us doing a bit of an introduction on why people should even listen to us in the first place. And I'll lead with that. So, again, my name is Lee Russel, and I cut my teeth as a UX UI designer in and around in software as a service businesses in and around the Leeds area. And COVID was the best opportunity that ever happened to me because our entire product team was fired. I was the only person on the front lines and given a sizable product to try and work out how to scale in any way that I wanted. I don't think the business expected too much from me. And we managed to scale that product from 0 paying customers and £400,000 worth of development debt over 2 years to a £2 million ARR product within 12 months by doing the things that we're going to talk to you about in here. And again, I want to reiterate what Nick said. This is not rocket science. You're not going to hear anything here that you probably haven't heard before. We want to teach you how to take action on that. I now run an agency called Yuzu. We work with founders basically to help them launch, build, and scale their businesses. I'm not going to say apps because we should be focusing on building your business, not your app. And Nick, give yourselves an introduction.
So I run a business called NRW Ventures, and I work, basically my intention is to work with founders to help them become excellent leaders of great businesses. Before this, I ran an innovation studio at a company called Deloitte, which is a global management consultancy company. And even with a company that size, these principles that we're going to go through today remain. It's about action to identify your next task and crack on and test it. And we would be developing $50 million businesses through that process, as well as taking tens of thousands of pounds proofs of concept and running them at the same time. So that's a bit of my background. Lee, I just wonder if I'll be really interested to know from people on the call. We've got some intros in terms of names of businesses, but I'd really love to hear from people around their business. And if you could provide in the chat a one-line description of your business, it'd be really good to know how you describe it.
Yeah. And I hope everyone knows where the chat is. So if you're looking for that frantically, bottom of your screen, little chat icon, yeah, that one-line description would be great to see.
The chat is disabled in my computer. I don't know why, but it might be that you guys need to allow it.
Ah, let's see if we can give you the permission there, Alex.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Paul.
That's interesting, Ellie, that you're finding this hard. This is one of the things that we want to see. How easy is this for you to describe what you do? And can you do that in a single sentence?
Sure. Lee, as I mentioned, the chat is disabled. I cannot write anything, but in the end, I can tell a little bit about my company. Thank you.
Or recruitment software as a service platform also. Oh, and we've got a Q&A as well. Okay, cool. So I think, how many have we got? I think that's quite a few people there. Operational management agency and marketing dates and cultural moments across the year. Love that. Talent to shine. Okay, so I think this is always really interesting. We will double back round to this as well. I want you to think about what you have put here as your description. How did you feel about describing that? Was that really easy and obvious for you to say what you do? And we'll get into some details of how you can evolve this through the growth pyramid so that you can start talking about your business in a way that is compelling for others to get really interested about. And we've also got an AI-powered low-code platform. I love that, Jason. Really cool. And Chris, obviously we know Meow really, really well. If anyone is looking for a great networking platform, jump on that as well. It's good fun. Okay, so want to give you a follow-up question as well that we will dive into. What do you think is your biggest barrier to growth at the minute? What is getting in the way of you not being as big as a company as you want to be? And I think that's a really important point, right? I get very obsessed with growing really big companies because I find that fun. That doesn't mean that everyone has to grow a giant company. We don't need you all to be the next Elon Musk and the next Mark Zuckerberg, right? For most people, that's not right. It's about growing to a point in your business where you are happy and it enables you to do the things that you want to do. But we'd love to know in the chat now, like personally, what do you think is actually the thing that is getting in the way? because I think people are often pretty much on the money. They know what's getting in their way. Overheads, money mindset, lead generation and marketing, access to funding, always a big one. Access to funding. Size of customers makes them powerful.
Really interesting, Andy. Size of the customers being bigger than you, and money, time.
Usually means really long sales cycles as well, because they're dragging you around by the nose. Time, I feel that one, Samuel. Definitely feel that one. Visibility, so marketplace signal versus noise. And we've got the absence of sales, marketing, and lead gen. Okay. And Paul, is that the absence as in you're not doing these activities? That's what's getting in your way, or you're finding that hard? Ideal client, Felix. Okay, that's a big one to get. I think you'll get a lot out of today's session then. Himani is unawareness of other side of business, such as marketing and strategies. I have struggled with marketing massively in my career, Himani, so I feel your struggle there. And funding and lack of experience. Absolutely, Jordan. Although you've got your product launch coming up soon, Jordan, so I can't wait to see that actually come out. And we've got Helen, lead generation, closing clients. I know you're launching next week, so best of luck with that launch, Helen, because I know that's a super stressful time as well. Yeah, really stressful but exciting time. An outside current skill set. Okay, Paul, so this is your lead gen, right? Is outside of your current skill set. Okay, I always find it very interesting that founders are aware of the thing that's holding them back right now. And there is a concept of, most of the time we absolutely know what we need to be doing to grow this business. And for a variety of reasons, we've either not done that, we're resisting that, or there is a knowledge gap that maybe we're focusing on that wrong thing. So we're going to cover some of these topics as well. And I think a lot of what you're saying there, like there's no surprises, right? It's around the funding, it's around the lead generation, it's around sales and closing those. And I think, it's around understanding your ideal client and how you're going to get people into that pipeline there. So Nick, do you want to explain what the growth pyramid is and what we think about growth?
Yeah, well, so Lee mentioned in the intro, we'd talk about something called the growth pyramid. And we also said this isn't rocket science. Look at this 3-tier pyramid. Who thought that's what you'd be getting today? But our premise is that growth is actually simpler than you think it is. Right? And we'll go through the different levels of the growth pyramid to talk about why we think that. And by the end of it, hopefully you all agree. But what we don't mean is growth is easy, right? Growth is not easy. It's hard work to really understand and engage with the different levels of this. But the concepts are simple. Because for us and the businesses that we've seen succeed, and the times when we've enjoyed the businesses that we're building, like with the Growth Academy, it's been fun because we've been identifying the foundations that we want to come in at. We've been keeping it simple and not overcomplicating it, right? So we know there are a few symptoms that we'll talk about of not experiencing growth. But actually, if you can build foundations so that these symptoms go away, growth becomes fulfilling and, dare I say it, fun, because sales don't feel like sales in the same way, right? So, selling products, you're offering your services, that doesn't feel easy to sell. And if your diary is really slow and you're making 100 calls for every one meeting, that's a symptom of not having these foundations in place, as is not feeling like you've got a unique advantage. I mean, how many of us feel like, are we really building something generic that we just know a broad market wants, or are we building something really unique and valuable to a bunch of people who we know will buy it? Yes, same product, really different mindset. Sorry, Lee, go on.
Yeah, and I think carrying those symptoms on, like if you're struggling to find those new customers, and when you do, getting them to buy your product or service again and again feels like, I don't know if you've ever felt this, like I've certainly been in phases of my businesses where that feels like complete luck. You're looking at the bank account, cash is getting low, and you think, where is the next customer coming from? Why are my current customers not buying more from me? And why the hell will they not give me a referral? It would really help my business out right now. And if you're really struggling to identify and unlock the hidden value dollar signs in this case, you know, in your current product or customer setup, this is a sign that you're building on those weak foundations that we've existed. I would bet a lot of money that with a couple of hours conversation with each and every one of you in your room, we could identify significant cash flow opportunities and or value that is within your current business that doesn't require you to develop a single new product, write a single line of code, or put a single new line offer out there. There is value that's hidden in what you do, and oftentimes it's interesting to me to see just how ignorant we ourselves as founders of our own businesses can be of the value that we provide. And again, if you're not turning those customers into raving, like this is one of my favorite things to do and to measure with a business. How much do your customers love you? Do they talk about you when you're not in the room? Do they go to a networking event and say, do you know what? Like, this product is amazing. You need this. We run a workshop the other day for one of the incubators. No one could shut up about their Remarkable tablet. It was fascinating to watch. Everyone was like, you got to get a Remarkable. This thing's the best thing ever. I felt like I was in a Remarkable sales pitch by the end of the day. And that really brings home the kind of level of understanding of your customer that you should be going to. Because it's only by doing that you can turn these people into raving fans who do your word of mouth referrals for you. A lot of time we talk about growth and people get a little bit embarrassed when they say, oh, what's your marketing strategy? It's like word of mouth referrals. I think that's the best marketing strategy there is. It's free and it is exponential in nature, right? It's way better than the Facebook ads if we can get it working. The problem is it's very hard to get working. So if any of those things are not feeling like they're in place in your business, if you're not feeling like your business is about to take off and it feels like, you know, I love the Elon Musk quote around business, which is sometimes running a business feels like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. If that's sometimes how you feel about your business, or you're confused about where to go next, our thesis here and what we really want to share with you today is that you're building on weak foundations. There is something in your understanding of your business that is not quite yet clicking in place. And if we can help you click that in place, the next moves that you can take to grow your business will become blindingly obvious. And this is why we say growth is simple. Because when we learn this thing, we go, oh my God, I cannot believe we've wasted 2 years scratching around in the dirt to try and grow this business when it was just this one little thing that if I'd have known 12 months ago, we wouldn't have had to go and raise funding. We'd have avoided it because we'd have had wild growth and cash flow coming in. We wouldn't have had to spend all those money on Facebook adverts because we'd had that word of mouth referral. We wouldn't have had to invest £100,000 in getting the product to be developed because actually we could have developed something much smaller and charged for it much sooner. So the big reveal, what are these foundations that we talked to? And Nick, I think I want to hand over to you here just to describe what this growth pyramid actually is and why we've come up with it in the first place.
Hey, back to the rocket science, right? It's not, but I just recall you're back to the description that you gave of your business at the beginning. How many of you spoke about the product? And we're not going to do an audit, don't worry. But when you wrote it, did you talk about your product or your service, or did you talk about the value that you give to your customers, or did you talk about the problem you solve for your customers? Now, there's definitely elements of talking about customers and the problems being solved. There's also a lot of here's the field I'm in, here's the specialism. And most businesses, that's really, really normal. A lot of businesses start at that top layer. I'm going to build X, and we start there. And we stay there. And that means that those foundations are not strong enough to really, really grow hard. Your business, whether you are a massive business turning over multi-millions, or whether you're bringing in $2,000 a month, or whether you're pre-revenue, your business starts with the customer, right? Customer and cash, they're your two priorities. So, as we said, if we don't know our customer, if we can't articulate the value we give to them, then those foundations are something which we need to pay a lot of attention to. By the way, don't if this is kind of flipping heck, this is a bit doom and gloom, This is really, really common, which is why we built the Growth Academy, because these are conversations we have day in, day out with people to say, can we just look at it a bit differently? Because I know that all of you will probably know your customers and you'll probably be able to articulate the value, but can you articulate it in a way that your customers get it, or the way that you want to articulate your product? And these are the kind of conversations that we want to go around with you to really nail it. Because if I think about my own experience of setting up NRW Ventures 12 months ago, I had my own version of the value proposition and I kept on banging it out, and people would say, what? You're doing what? How does that help me? I see why you're having a great time talking about stuff, but how does it help me? Every customer's thinking, what's in it for me? So if you talk about your product, not them, there's a translation issue going on. So let's get into it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we want to touch on. So we're starting to have a bit of a saying around like don't be running a selfish business, right? Because I think, as you touched on there, Nick, we get so passionate about what we do, and we have so much knowledge about why it's great that we expect everyone else to kind of arrive into that conversation with the same level of understanding about why your product is going to change their life. And if you only ever talk about that top level, they switch off. And the test for this is go to a networking event, ask people what they do, and look at the response of the people in the group with you. When someone just talks about their product, everyone switches off. When people talk about their mission, what they're doing for others, people get bought in. They want to join you on that mission. They want to make introductions for you, connections. And the problem is the real gold within your business. That is the value. Your product can change multiple times over with pivots, with complete 180s, but that problem that you solve is really that the value of any business. So I should have skipped to the next slide before I went into that little diatribe. But yeah, this is the place we want you to focus. And the real difference that I see in, we work with some startup founders who they launch a business and they seem to be able to get traction with just a pitch deck. There's money being thrown at them. They've got customer signups coming out their ears. Maybe they've done a crowdfunding campaign, or they've got a Discord group with a ton of customers in it who are like begging to get onto the product. I've recently been part of a product launch beta group for something called Wiz. There's about 200 people in there trying to buy beta codes off of each other for hundreds of pounds to get into the product early. The product wasn't built. And how do they do that? It's because they're really hitting on that problem for the customer. And that is where we really, really want you to dig deep and focus. Most businesses don't have this understanding. And if you have really big competition within your space, my favorite thing to do in the world with startups is they have a giant competitor in the exact same space of them that I know the exec team of that company has not talked to a customer probably for years. That means there is a wide chasm that we can stick a very, very customer-focused, problem-focused product service into that will gain us traction. But you've got to understand why they want to get involved with your company.
Yeah. Can I just add on to that quickly, Lee, as well?
Yes,
so I think Ellie makes a nice point in the chat. So it's about finding a shared motivation or a shared problem or a need. I think when you're thinking about your customers, I would always say, don't be afraid to go beyond what you want to talk about. Find out their dreams and their hopes, their pain points, their worries, because actually you might find there's a really circuitous route that all of a sudden becomes a very direct route to a problem that you can solve, and there are knock-on effects. Yeah. We spoke about people becoming your champion, that kind of word of mouth referrals. It's how you do it. You solve their problem, you become their hero, you become their champion. You find their motivation and help them achieve X. And that's how you do it. And those of you who took the Score App survey before this, there was a big section that asked a bunch of questions around how well you know your customers. And my reflection on a lot of that, and I think Lee and I have discussed this, is a lot of those answers, people feel like they know their customers very, very well. I would ask, when was the last time, just as Lee said, you got in a room or on the phone with your customer or with a clipboard, whatever it is, right? And just had a conversation with them, like a proper conversation, not a type form survey, although they're good, right? Kind of actually build those relationships. They're real game changers, those.
It's a really easy way to sell. Andy, I think you said size of your customers makes them really hard to interact with, right? Well, this is a great sales technique as well. And a place if you're early stage, I love to start selling. You start pitching people who are your ideal customer, not to come and talk about your product, but for you to sit, and sometimes we even pay these people to do this, to sit with you, to tell you about their problems. And everyone's favorite subject is themselves. You start getting people talking about themselves, they won't shut up. And when you do that, they will tell you exactly what to build, exactly what they want to see to start getting excited. And I'm in the middle of a product launch for a startup. We're scaling at the minute, and this is exactly how we've developed the product. Before we even wrote a single line of code, we had 4 people who wanted to sign up and 2 people who wanted to get in and invest in that. And we haven't wasted a single minute of our time building something no one wants, because we knew it was going to sell before we've built it. So how does that tie to value, and what is the difference between the customer and the value? Your customer, we want to understand the story around your customer. We want to understand the situation they're in. And my mind goes to B2B products quite regularly, but this works for B2C as well. If you can understand the story about your customer and what they want to do, you can design and innovate products and service offerings that fulfill that for them. And there's a great Peter Drucker quote, which is about no one wants to buy a drill. People want to buy a hole in the wall so they can hang up the family portrait, right? And if you think about that, there's actually a ton of innovation that you can do. It's nothing to do with technology, building really expensive platforms that you need to raise investment for to get off the ground. So that's the customer. The value is really how you start to solve that problem for them, how you start to articulate what it is that you are going to do. And I love to say to people, it's about outcomes, not products. Progress, not products, right? We don't want to talk to your customers about your product because they don't care. They just want the outcome. Don't know if any of you use Calendly within your businesses. They've redesigned that landing page. I'm really angry about it because I used to use this as an example all the time. If you used to go to the Calendly landing page, they did not talk about calendar booking. They did not say there is shared calendars, group calendars, there is Google Calendar links, you can put payment details in. None of that was on their homepage. You could dig into the site and find that, sure. But their tagline was, end the endless back and forth of booking meetings. That is, if you've ever worked as someone who has to book a lot of meetings within your business or within your role, that whole emailing, when are you free? Are you free at this time? How about this time? And you're trying to do that between 20 people. That sucks. And that is the value that they deliver. It's all about the time they free up from that. It's all about the ending that annoyance, right? And the product is the way that we deliver it. And before I dive in, well, we'll dive into that now. The product is the way you deliver that value, but it is the least interesting thing about your business. And I know there's a ton of tech startups in here, which you're going to be kind of raging at that. How dare I say that your innovation is the least interesting thing? But I really do mean it, because in the problem you solve and the value you deliver to your customer is more important. That is the enterprise value of your business. That is the thing that people are going to invest in, because your product should and could change repeatedly as the market changes, as your customer base evolves, as your understanding of the problem you solve evolves. Change your product, right? Don't be the person running around with one solution, one specific solution to a problem, trying to find whoever might buy that. It's a really tough job to do. And if you just went back to those people that you want to serve and just ask them what they want, they'll tell you what they will need to see in order to put their hands in their pockets, bring out their wallets, and importantly, give you money, which I think is, we can all agree is the aim of any of us in business, so we can keep the lights on and do the things that we want to do with our business. So this is what we're asking you to do. Go beyond the product, go deeper, and really start to understand who your customer is, what they want, and their story of their lives around that problem that you're really fixated on. Nick, do you want to fill in a little bit of the gap of what the entire pyramid looks like?
So there's two parts to your business for every startup business, for sure, but also any big business. You've got your growth aspect, but then you've also got you, the leader, right? And I think what is challenging about the growth pyramid is just human nature. What we tend to lean towards is either what comes easily to us or feels natural. We sometimes avoid what's necessary if it doesn't feel easy or if it doesn't feel natural to us. And that what feels natural is often based on, all stems down to our core beliefs, but then goes through to our personal attitude and how we prefer to engage with people or tasks or technology, through to our professional experience and what we've learned is the right way to do stuff. And so the other aspect of Growth Academy, and this is actually something which we're building out right now, is how do we talk, number one, to your business and help you build a business? How do we help you become a great leader of that business and know how to step into tasks which might not come naturally to you? Know where you need to bring people in. Paul, I think you mentioned, probably outsource that skill set. Maybe you might find that actually just having these conversations with your customers is your own marketing. Helen, you mentioned lead gen. You might find all of a sudden talking to customers, you don't need to worry about lead gen, because when you launch it and customers get it, they start talking about it and it flows. But if it is lead gen and you need to move into that, what comes naturally to you? What comes naturally? What feels like a barrier and a blocker? And it's this aspect which you can have everything lined up, but if you're not aware of how or ready to step into what's necessary, then Lee and I have just wasted an awful lot of oxygen over the last 20 minutes. So that is a really important aspect to building your business, is yourself and your team around you.
I think it's the hardest aspect of building a business, especially in the early days, right? I'll give you a little story about my own agency right now. I am probably one of the most chaotic people you'll ever meet, right? I get really fascinated with big ideas. Mind runs at 100 miles an hour and it's shiny object syndrome all the time. And my design team recently tagged me in a Stephen Bartlett video on LinkedIn, which was talking about how most people experience their founders like a bull in a china shop. They're like really stressful to work with. And this started me off on a bit of a journey of introspection, where I started to go down into that, core beliefs and personal attitude layer of this growth framework here. And I realized I was really hindering the growth of my business because there was hundreds of unfinished projects everywhere. There was strategies that I got really excited about that as soon as it came to implementing the details of, I was bored as hell. I am not a details person. I am not the person that you want doing your bookkeeping or your finance, because the numbers and those nitty-gritty details make me, go to sleep. And it was when I realized those gaps within my own personal attitude and my core beliefs and the experience there, I could start building an early stage team that plugged those gaps. So I've onboarded 2 people now pretty much full time who are the most organized people I've ever met. They have lists for everything. They are very, very detail orientated. And wouldn't you know, over the last 3 months, our business has started to see wild growth because things are being done. Things are being taken to completion. There's focus, right? And I'm starting to change this business, because the business at a very early stage is going to reflect you as a founder massively, almost entirely. And you'll find that your own personal failings or things that you find difficult is probably what your business finds difficult. And it is worthwhile you doing that deep work to really have an honest conversation with yourself and say, what do I know I need to do, but I'm avoiding? What self-destructive habits am I putting in place within this business that's killing any growth that I possibly have? It is super difficult for you to do that yourself. And so we would also say, in terms of doing that, you need to be getting a mentor, a coach, a kind of group of peer founders, whoever it is, who can honestly sit you down and say, I don't believe what you've said there, or I think you're kidding yourself, or you're even worse is like you're holding yourself back because you have a bias about yourself that you feel like this is not possible for me. That strategy works for everyone else. I've seen it work 20 times, but it won't work for me because of something that happened in my childhood or my past, right? We won't go too deep and personal on this call, but it kind of goes to those areas, and it's really valuable if you can identify those big gaps that you have, plug them with a co-founder, plug them with your early hires, and think about this. Don't just hire people that are direct mirrors of you. I've done that. It's a disaster. You do not want 5 Lees in a business. That is an absolute nightmare. Nothing would ever be done. So yeah, be reflective and get that kind of person who can help you take that journey.
And I think it is interesting. Lee and I are quite similar, and we all chat about ideas for the Growth Academy. I said we met 7 months ago. It's because the first 5.5 months we chatted about ideas until we realised what we're doing, and now we've got a bunch of rules, right? We'll spend the first 10 or 15 minutes of a meeting on the next idea, the next idea, the next idea. Then we get down to business. No more ideas allowed. And it's having that awareness, and that's not a hard action, is it? We've made so much more progress over the last 5-6 weeks than we did in the first 5 months through that discipline. Lee, there are a few questions in the Q&A. I just wonder if we flip over to that before we go on to the next slide.
Let's have a look.
Vlad's asked about the SaaS startup unicorn approach of triple, double, double, which is the first 5 years, your ARR is doubling, triple. I think it might be the other way around. Triple, double. Any advice on how to build a GTM strategy that's going to achieve that kind of growth? I think, Vlad, you've got to get your foundations in place. If you want that kind of wild growth, and right, good on you. You've got your aspirations to hit those heights, flip and go for it. Know the next step you're going to take to get that next bit of revenue, right? It's not about tripling your revenue in 1 year. It's what's happening to your revenue this month and what foundations are you putting in place so that you can see better revenue the next year, so that you can get those word of mouth referrals, so that you can get a full diary, so that you can get that revenue coming in. I don't think there's a route to tripling your ARR other than bloody hard work and knowing really clearly, being ruthless with your disciplined actions to say, here's what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. And I think if you're going that route, we spend a lot of time talking with founders, like, what are you building, a unicorn or a zebra, right? Because I think a lot of people get taken down that route of, I want to build the next 99.9% percentile business that's going to go to the stratosphere and have that $1 billion exit, right? But then you speak to the founders and actually they're like, yeah, I kind of want to sell it in 5 years. 5 million would do me. It's like, well, why the hell are we trying to grow that fast? Because growth that fast, Vlad, is really hard for one reason only, is as you grow, you create a ton of mess within your business, right? You will break people, you will break processes, you will break your understanding of your customers as you start to scale and lose touch with them. And so if you're going to maintain that trajectory, you've got to be creating systems and processes within your business that understands the customers that you're going to have, the value they're going to want, and how your product's going to deliver that in such a way that is scalable, that you morph as you grow. But it is also normal. I think we can get caught up in the fact that we feel like growth should be a hockey stick, right? But if we zoom into that hockey stick chart, there are moments where we have to go backwards a little bit. And that is the moments in time where you get to fix all of the mess that you've created in your business. And that can be really scary. That is very scary to investors. They don't like that one bit. I don't think there's another way to grow though. Sometimes we have to take a step back and say, let's get rid of some of this. Let's clean things up a little bit here. So yeah, I'd love to understand, Vlad, a little bit more of what's really attracting you to that unicorn growth. And is that really what you want? That would be the challenge that I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so We've also had
Sam's asked about customer awareness versus customer apathy, and the kind of how often that challenge comes about. And I think it's interesting because I think you'd say the same thing here, Lee. I think awareness and apathy are really closely linked. I think one of the reasons customers might not be aware is, or future potential customers might not be aware, is because your existing customers are apathetic, right? So they don't care enough about the product to give you a reason to keep on selling it, or to go tell other people about it, or to give you enough cash so that you can spend money on your marketing or whatever it might be. And that apathy, if you're finding a lack of awareness is a struggle, do what Lee just said, take a step back and say, why are people not shouting about this? Why is it hard to get people's awareness? Am I poking in the wrong places, or am I actually just pushing something that doesn't resonate? Sometimes you might have the right customer need, the problem you're solving, the right customer in mind, but that value proposition, the way you articulate why they should get it, you get wrong, right? So that transaction of value isn't clear, and it's not clear what the customer has to do to achieve that value, or it's not clear what customer has to spend, as well as the money, time, effort, whatever it might be in your service. I can't remember from the chat, sorry, Sonny, what your offer is. But I think always go back, take that step back, because actually then you will accelerate the steps you can take forwards.
Yeah, and I think if we're talking about the wild growth, the unicorn growth as well, we can look at that problem of apathy, and I think there is a way to address that, which is building a community around your product. And I don't mean necessarily having a group of people that are in a Discord, a Facebook group, or something that are fans of your product. What I mean is taking the approach of companies like Canva or Figma or Airbnb or any of those other companies that you all know and love. If you look at their founding story, they are often turning up to where their customers are, and they're almost unreasonably curious and nosy about the lives of their customers. And in doing that kind of hard work and rolling up their sleeves and appearing where their customers are hanging out, they become part of the zeitgeist within that industry, right? And then people start talking about it. And I think it's such a great way to build those raving fans who give you that word of mouth referral. Half the time it's actually just being someone who cares enough to understand what their problem is. If they are apathetic, it's because you've probably come in like everyone else with your product talking about me. And this is hard, right? When we need a sale, I'm so guilty of this in my business so often. When the bills are due at the end of the month, I know I need that sale, and I find myself doing this on the sales call. I'm talking about me, my product, my team, what we can do, not about them, what we can do for them, the progress we can help them. So, if you've got apathy, go and really take that unreasonable amount of interest into someone's lives and problems, and that apathy will soon disappear because they love talking about themselves. Okay, and we've also got a new question from Jordan. So setbacks and delays. What would you recommend in regards to sustaining interest and momentum in the face of unforeseen obstacles? So Jordan, I know your business really well. We've spoken quite a few times, and Jordan's done something really cool, guys, which I think we can all learn from. So he has generated a groundswell of demand for his product through things like Reddit communities, talking about what he's building public. There is a Discord channel that Jordan shares regular updates, basically slides from his product development as they're building away in behind closed doors, right? You are going to have setbacks and delays. That is okay, and that is also expected. I think my experience of working, especially in larger SaaS companies where we've had a product that is now getting quite mature, and the thought of making sweeping changes to that is terrifying because we know we're going to break a ton of stuff, and all of the engineers that wrote that code no longer in the business, right? Whenever we've had delays and setbacks, I think the open, honest approach is the right way to go, right? If you are promising deadlines and you keep missing them, yeah, people get annoyed with that. But if you get around those people and say, look, this is the process. This is the open book. This is what we've got. Here is the early version. Do you want to jump on a call and talk to me about this? I want to know your thoughts because you are an expert. You are the person who I'm obsessed with, like problem who I want to solve. You bring them into your world. You will sustain that interest. Give them the ability to help you build, even though they don't need to fund it and they don't need to do any of the tough work to build it, right? But you can make them feel very good about helping you formulate what the vision is and what the product is just by asking their opinion. And people love to share that. So I would say that's how I found a great way to maintain that interest, Jordan. Even if it's going to take you longer, don't get panicked. Just keep them in the loop. And that's actually part of the journey, right? Guys, we found a technical problem in building this product that we did not exist. Here's what it is. Here's what we're doing about it. That's just as interesting as building that product.
I think that's really good. You know, what you're doing there is you're building and maintaining a relationship with your customers, even when you can't be solving the problem that you want to be solving. Particularly for a stage of business like yours, Jordan, that relationship with customers is huge. And you actually, in doing that, are building trust, possibly even more than you are by solving the problem through their product. And I think sometimes actually you might find ways that you can solve smaller problems that don't need the launch or the kind of next stage gate to be achieved. And that's great as long as it's not distracting you too much from what you need to be focusing on to prioritize your business. But that element of building trust and relationship is really, really important.
Yeah, really, really important. I want to make sure that we can get through all of this that we've got for you here today, guys, as well. So, you know, this is great, right? We've told you a load of things that sound great on paper. People nodding away. It's probably nothing that you haven't heard before. But like, how do you actually go and do this? And I think, you know, if you are able to understand at what level of in that pyramid, you know, the customer, the value, and the product that you are weakest in at the moment, we need you to basically create what we call a traction plan, right? We probably need a marketing expert to brand that a little bit better, Nick. But the idea behind the traction plan is if you take focused action over a short enough period of time and you keep at that, you will build solid foundations. It's almost impossible not, right? If you take everything as a learning opportunity, you will build the foundations of that pyramid and move up to having a product that people will rant and rave about. So this is what we've done within the Growth OS, right? Myself and Nick, we're really lucky. We get to work with some of the UK's biggest businesses on helping them launch their products. That gets really frustrating when what we love to do is work with much earlier stage businesses who often, you know, struggle to with that funding aspect, time, etc. So we've basically put everything that we do with those businesses in that Notion template that you can take away. There is a really hastily recorded video in there from me today. We're eating our own medicine here, and you know, we're trialing and this with you guys, and we would love feedback on it as well. But there's a template. There are some video instructions of how you work through that. You will find a document in there called the traction plan, and it will ask you to create 3 traction strategies, measure where you are in your business right now and where you want to go. And what we would invite you to do is fill that traction plan out, and we would love to look at your answers to that. There's a link, you can book some time with me and Nick. Look at your answers to that so that we can do the bit here for you where we look at maybe your professional experience, the attitude and your core beliefs, either make you dream bigger, make you refocus onto what you really need to do, and go from there. So if you scan that, and I can drop a link to this in here as well after this conversation, but we'd really love for you to use that. The feedback from the incubators that we've been giving this to has been really, really good. They're using this as a framework to progress in a rapid way, which I'm super impressed with. I love it when people listen to what me and Nick say and actually implement it, because that is the important thing. And this is what we really want you to do with it, right? there is the 6-step process. You create your traction plan. What is your best thinking about how you can understand your customer better, how you can articulate that value better, and test how they see that value and the way you're articulating it, and test your product. Can you sell it? Do you need to innovate on it, iterate on it? You build that, you are then going to hit hurdles, right? There is no plan that ever gets made in the history of humanity that when we put it out there into the market does not need to change. That does not exist, right? Expect hurdles. As you encounter those hurdles, that's actually the start of growth. Most people are like, oh my God, this is getting difficult. This is hard. They give up. I get really excited when we have problems, because I know once we have problems, people are paying attention, people are interacting with it. We are about to find growth. We diagnose those problems that we find. Why are we not able to get anyone on the sales call? Oh, right, the link didn't work. Let's fix that. Or the way that we communicated that in the social media post or our direct outreach sucked, right? We're going to iterate on the message. You diagnose, you course correct, you redo that, and then you hit growth and you repeat and you repeat and you repeat. And I think the thing that I want you to walk away with today, those founders that I work with who launch a business and scale at real lightning speed, right? The difference I see with them and most founders, we were speaking to a business this week where I know they've been trying to launch this thing since 2018. They are still on the same problem. And it's because their decision cycle is months, not weeks, right? And the best business people in the world shorten their decision cycles. They make a decision within 2 weeks. They make a decision within 24 hours to say, let's test this because I don't know. Let's put it out there and see what the market says. Did we get it right? No? Cool. Let's iterate. You can do that with these, what we're calling the 2-week accountability sprints. You look at your traction plan, you try it, you rinse and repeat. That will grow your business more than anything you will implement in your business from paid advertising, etc., just because it will help you course correct to growth over time. That's really what we want you to walk away with today. So finishing messages. Nothing that we've told you today here is rocket science. I'm sure you've heard it all before. If you do not go and do something with this, create your own traction plan and start to work towards filling those gaps within your knowledge about your customers, the value you provide and your product, this was a waste of time, right? A waste of 60 minutes. Me and Nick, we love ideas, as we've said, and we've realized that ideas are worthless. It's the execution is where the rubber meets the road, and we need you to execute on your traction plans to get your business growing. This is the only way forward, right? And the shorter cycle you can do that, the better.
That's right.
Are we out, Lee?
We're out, mate. I was getting your messages, I was hurrying it along.
No, that's fair enough. I think that was fantastic, and I think loads and loads of stuff that I certainly recognised from my startup journey, and I'm sure tons of stuff that anyone can relate to there. I'm very conscious that we've been talking at you for a long time, and yet thank you for your questions in the Q&A. What I would invite you to do is, if you do want to ask a question directly to Lee and or Nick, to click the raise your hand button, and I'll try and get to you, and please feel free to hit them directly.
Yeah, or stick it in the Q&A section.
Q&A, entirely up to you.
Oh, Tom,
Yeah, Tom.
awesome.
Yeah, Tom, go for it. Go on.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me now?
We can hear you, mate. Yeah, can't see you, but we can hear you.
Just a bit of a quick one. I feel that we've got quite a good understanding of our client base, and I think the marketing is going quite well on our side. In terms of growth, it seems to be more about understanding your clientele. Is there, I'm trying to work out if there's a more modern way or something that I should be looking into a bit more in terms of just sort of marketing our services? Because right now it's just one guy cold calling, trying to get us new business. And I just don't know if there's something else that we should be going about, trying to market a bit more.
What is it that you do again, Tom?
It's it's outbound B2B telemarketing.
Okay. So I would say if you're doing cold calls, that will work, right? I kind of cut my teeth in sales doing cold calling in recruitment. For all my sins, forgive me. Don't all leave at once. It will work, right? You will get traction in that, but it's very, very limited in the leverage that you have, right? One person equals a certain amount of dials per hour equals a certain amount of customers as you work that sum out, right? So how can you move up the leverage scale with your marketing? You might want to look at, and again, this is where like understanding your customer is really going to come in, because there is probably things that are very attractive to your customers that's not your product, right? That you could start to put out there. Events, free gifts, like when I say free gifts, I mean something of value, something that I've seen work really well recently, right? People who advise startups on getting investment, putting together Airtable documents of all of the funds in a local area and the contact details of all of them, and being like, DM me if you want this, and there's hundreds of comments, right? Now, what are they going to do with that? They're going to have some kind of follow-up process to that. Be careful with the bait and switch with that. Cold calling is a very, you are ringing up and you're kind of saying, right, I want to speak to you about our product, right? It's very selfish again, or it can be if it's done in the wrong way. I would look at that understanding of your customer. What is irresistible to them? What do they want? What's that outcome? What's that family portrait hung on the wall, the final piece of the puzzle? When you understand that, how can you offer them something free that moves them towards that in some way, shape, or form? You will start to get traction with that.
Okay, so perhaps tailoring the outbound marketing approach to a more personal level, perhaps to whoever it is that we might be contacting.
Yeah. Have you ever had a piece of outbound that really works? Like, there's a concept that I love. They're called getting the producer mindset, right? You can be a consumer of advertising and outbound, or you can start being a producer. And when something works on you, stop and be like, why did I open that email? Why did I jump on this webinar? Why did I do whatever it is, right? And you'll start to see patterns. Usually it's because it's talking about something you want, and you hope that by interacting with that thing is going to move you towards that progress you want to make. So we'd have to dig in more to what your customers actually want. But if you have that real good understanding, and I would challenge you and say the key to having that real good understanding is that will become blindingly obvious what you should do.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I'd add on top of that, Tom, is absolutely what you said is you're focusing on your outbound and different ways of outbound. Understand your customers beyond your product. Find out what kind of content they want to consume and the way they want to consume content or information or knowledge or education. Become part of a part enabler and then part service provider. People like to think they can do it, but they don't have time, so they need Tom, right? And you are part of the solution. Lo and behold, your business becomes the solution, but it doesn't have to start off by being the solution. You're part of their narrative. You're part of the kind of way they're going to get to where they need to get to. And then you build out that relationship. And it's just, you won't be able to do that as effectively if you don't understand how they want to engage with the problem overall. That might be, for some, you got your outbound, here I am. For others, there's a slower route to it. But then you've got them and you understand that you've probably got much stronger relationships with those customers than the ones who just say yes at the first call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Colin.
Colin, go for it.
Cool. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, guys. This has been really thought-provoking. I had a bit of a question. Lee, you mentioned a couple of times creating value, a service that kind of delights your customers to the point that they refer you and, are compelled to talk to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a nuance or an angle where your service gives them a competitive advantage such that they would be, less than forthcoming with either the details of the value that you brought them, or indeed, sharing how your system operates?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I could imagine that possibility happening, right? But Colin, what is it that your product does?
So my service provides a platform to differentiate technical skills. So there's 3 marketplaces that I'm going to be addressing, and one of them is recruiters. So obviously recruitment providers will be commoditized by AI and stuff like that, and my platform can give them or give their candidates real credentials, so they can go to their customers and say, look, not only are we filtering CVs and identifying people, but we can actually qualify or pre-qualify their capability in this space.
Okay, so I think it comes down to a mindset, right? There is definitely people out there in the world that are like, I'm keeping this to myself. I'm never going to talk to anyone about it. I think those people don't last very long in business, if I'm honest with you. And I think my experience of being in business and interacting with business is very similar to myself. Is we go to industry events, we all have a networking event where there's free-flowing beer, and we talk about what we're doing and we share hints and tips. And there's a lot of communities out there specifically for this kind of sharing of what's working, what's not, right? I think business is much more collaborative than we are led to believe, because I think it's very hard to survive in business without being like that, truthfully, right? You end up getting cut out of the market. So I would say, even if this is an amazing secret tool, eventually you will encounter people who are much more naturally open about sharing what they do and why it's working, and they'll probably use that as an advantage in their marketing themselves, of like, we're using this tool and this is why we're great, right? I think still lean into that. I would bet a lot of money that you will have people sharing, even if it's less publicly, secretly, in groups. This is great, you need to be on it.
Yeah, I think it's about becoming the world's worst kept secret, isn't it, Cole? And that's kind of what you want. And I suspect it's at those kind of events where people will talk about it, or they'll tell their friends. It's an absolute lifesaver. Colin sorted me out with this, with ABC. They're not a competitor, but they know a competitor, and one of their friends, the kind of B2B2B sale, right? One of their friends is in the same space, and they just happen to mention it because they've got the same problem. So word of mouth isn't always direct. It's reputation. It's kind of, I've got something to say about that particular thing because I chatted to Lee, who told me about Colin, so I can tell Paul about this. Right?
Hey, that sounds like networking.
Also, Chris, I was going to say, recruiters have got the biggest mouths in the world. They're not keeping anything secret.
Exactly.
Cool. Thanks for
that.
Colin?
I did see, I think, was it Helen? I saw
Helen had a question. Do you want to ask your question, Helen?
Actually, it's not Helen on the call.
Oh, okay.
And I'm standing in for her because she's gone with the kids to the Christmas party. But she told me to just join. Well, I'm Helen's husband and CEO for Smart Shift. Our question is, we've built a product. We've not communicated out to the public, but over the last 12 months, we've had 11,000 job seekers sign up with our platform.
Okay.
Which comes as a surprise to us. So lately, we've started to find out how they got to know about us. And we've had about 10 recruitment agencies sign up to the platform as well, without us marketing to them. But now that we're ready to go live, we're not sure where to start a whole marketing process from, because we come more from a development background, and Helen wants to manage the marketing, but she's not that versed within the business to business or software as a service marketing space. Though she's come up with a very brilliant idea, which is to give the members of the public 20% of our profit for them to market and bring clients onto the platform. So that's what she's come up with. Is let's start a partnership program. Let's get on social media and publicize it, that you can start earning passive income by bringing businesses onto the platform. And some of us feel it feels.
Are you going to say you don't agree with the idea?
Yeah. So it's kind of split the team. And she was like, "Oh, okay, let's I need to attend this and see whether I can learn something new."
Nick's
the married one, so I'm going to let him
really
take
big at the moment, isn't it? So affiliate marketing's huge. What I would want to know is, have you asked the recruitment agencies why they signed up without you even marketing? Like, there's got to be something in it. There's some value, but have you asked them?
So we've asked them. We've got a medium-sized agency to join us from the and what we sent a video out to the guy after he got in touch with us to just show him how the platform works, which is we bridge the gap that most other systems out there don't do. So we allow a business to be able to post shift to their agency, and at the same time it goes to the agency's workers straight away. And we've done all the work in between in terms of the rates that's paid to the agency and the rates that the agency pay their workers. But what we've done quite intelligently is, apart from the contract module that allows a business to to manage multiple agencies, we've created a communication channel between all of them. So it's easier to communicate. It's easier for the business to just approve the shift, automated invoicing, check-in, and everything, which makes it different from every other system out there.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why you're seeing this like groundswell of interest in your product. So I'd say from a business perspective, like affiliate marketing is really, really powerful, right? In terms of your unit of hours in the day, if you can make 5 great relationships with people who have got a massive distribution network, that's way better than closing 5 customers individually, right?
Yeah.
More leverage there, but now you've got to give away some of your profit. My question would be, if you've not launched and you're not heavily marketing and you're already getting that kind of traction, why can't we double down on the actions that are making these people discover you, right? Because it seems like you have enough of a problem, about like what we would call a burning hair problem, right? This is a desperate need for them, that if they see your thing, they get in touch, they actively sign up, right? So affiliates, maybe keep them in your back pocket, but I would say question and really think about what's called the second and third order consequences of that decision, right? You can give away the profit and scale more now, but actually, is there a different decision that you can take, which is maybe producing some content, hosting an event, whatever it is, that gets your product seen by those people, and you can churn them up into your customer pipeline anyway, because you're already solving that burning hair problem. And I would actually maybe run some experiments. Whoever you do the affiliate deals with has to have a great distribution network of those recruitment agencies. So it's probably not recruitment agencies you offer that to.
So
and they have to have value.
Where the platform becomes very funny. Is when we started we were building it as a standalone recruitment agency.
Okay. You scratched your own itch.
Then down the line, we switched to becoming like a gig platform. So we've got 2 models. One that provides services to recruitment agencies, and what changed us was we discovered overnight, even advertising for workers to join us. Within 3 months, we had over 5,000 job seekers. And we didn't even know where they came from. And they were like, just Google search, find your website, and we're signing up. So we've discovered that there is a large number of people looking for work. But what we don't know is now we've built a platform whereby we can even get employers to post jobs directly to job seekers. But what we've never had on the platform is a job seek, an employer sign up with us. We've never had any interaction. So right now we're thinking we need to get employers, because the numbers is growing astronomically for us, for job seekers. And these are real people. So today we've had about 50 discussions with 50 people that signed up today.
Amazing.
So we
Well,
have a growing population of jobs.
you're starting to find that product market fit. I think Paul has put a really good comment in here, which is worth considering. A simplified referral program rather than a profit share. Like,
I would go even simpler than that. I would say this is not a marketing or a content scheme. This is a sales exercise that you need to do. Find where your customers are, pick up the phone and talk to them. If you've got businesses signing up apropos of nothing, unstimulated by you, it means they are seeing something in there. And if businesses are seeing something in your products without you having to tell them, the second you start to introduce other businesses to them, they should start doing exactly the same thing as well. Like I say, I don't know enough about your business to offer anything more deep than that, but this sounds to me like you need some sales activity, not a content creation strategy.
No, exactly that. And always keep in mind, simple scales, complex fails, right? If you've got to have a really complicated profit sharing mechanism, your full-time job is going to be managing that and making sure people get paid. People are already wanting to use your platform. Just open the gates and show them the way in.
Thank you. We'll catch up with you after.
Yeah, we'd love to have the conversation. We'd definitely love to have that conversation. Vlad, just wanted to pick up on something that you kind of said there with the 4 U's. Is one of my favorite frameworks for evaluating whether your startup idea is going to be something that you should really lean heavily into. And just want to flag it for everyone else. There's a really great Harvard business lecture around value props, which talks about the 4 U's. I think every startup founder should watch it. It's a great way to assess what you're doing in the innovation you're making.
Brilliant. I am conscious that we are having a small trickle of people disappearing, and I think we're approaching the sort of the witching hour where people want to run off and
you want to get back to your rum club, don't you? I know what you're doing.
Lifesaver this week. Who are currently want to leave. If anyone has any more questions, now's your time. Otherwise, I am gonna as Alex jump in.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Alex. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, and it will be a pleasure to be here. A lot of things that Lee and Nick said, I feel it because I have been through all these, working 35 years and 15 years for myself. I faced an issue in one of my business that my business can be nationwide, and I knew it will be successful, but the payment term for my client, nationwide strategic client, will be between 60 and 90 days. And my supplier payment was between 14 and 30 days. I faced huge cash failure problem and I turned back the offer. And do you have any solution for this? Because in my new business, I don't want to face the same problem.
So when you say nationwide, we mean the bank, right?
Yes.
So this is a really difficult issue, especially as you're a smaller business. Like they know that they have such significant value for you as a customer. You basically need to sign up to their terms. It's either a question of you building up enough resources and runway that you can accept those terms, right? They're probably quite a secure provider of payments, right? They're not going to default, hopefully. It's either that, or I know there are services that will essentially take that risk on for you. Now they will charge you a pretty penny to do that, and it's not my expertise. I don't want to give financial advice out here, but there are ways in which you can basically sell your invoices to a third party who will do the escrow for you. That means you have to have way bigger profit margins because they will take a pretty penny for that factoring. That's the word, Paul. I know a lot of companies that do that right in the beginning and early days. It's always a difficult thing. If that's the kind of customer that you're going to go after, that is the sales reality. They are just a massive company, and they will have someone replace you if you're doing something that's very not very niche, right? They will find someone else to do that. So either build cash flow that has shorter payment terms to support taking that risk on, or use something like factoring It's a strategic play. It does add risk to your business, though.
I agree with you. Thank you very much, Lee. And the thing is, I luckily I turned off that offer that I had because of that, due to cash flow calculation, as I work in different financial accounting companies. I knew one of my friend took over the nationwide offers, and after 3 months, they got a CJJ from the bank. So it means that immediately they lost it, and they went to the court. It took them 2 years, and they lost in the court as well. So I agree with you on that. Thank you.
Yeah, you've got to think again. It comes back to that term, the second, third, fourth, fifth, all the consequences of any decision you make within your business. We can make this decision now, and it might be cash in the bank now, but actually, what is the consequence of that 3 years down the line, etc.? You've got to think of those.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Right. So on the message of beware the big boys. Let's wrap this up. I'd just like to say, on behalf of everybody, and what I'd really like everyone to do, if you would, is for the last couple of 30 seconds or so, let's switch our cameras on so Lee and Nick can see you, and let's give them a big round of applause. I know it's fairly thin when we're doing it online, but hey, every little helps. So
Thank you very much.
See, now we know the ones that have disappeared, before. Anyway, I'm really chuffed with the turnout this afternoon. I think it's been a really, really, really useful session. Lots and lots and lots of really interesting insights and tips. And having worked with Lee, which is one of the inspirations for this session, I can say that those sessions both Simon and I, my business partner, spent with Lee, were really very much like having someone shine a very bright, sometimes uncomfortable light into your business. But what it did do was see what was in all the cracks and potentially what we could do about it. So I very much recommend it. One more last plug. You may have seen my shirt. This is my startup. There is nothing I want from you other than engagement. We're a free platform which allows you to talk to other founders, other business people, other people all over the world, should you wish. Do check it out. And if you have anything to say or feedback or whatever else, let me know. But that's it for this evening. Keep your eyes open for more Startup Grind events happening in the new year. We're going to try and do one in January. Hopefully we can do it face to face this time. Although having said that, the weather outside tonight, I'm sure most of you
and train strikes, mate.
Yeah, thanks for not dragging me out today. Yeah, we should have a really nice event venue organised for January, and hopefully another great speaker. So thank you all for coming. If I don't speak to you before, have a great Christmas, and I will see you all in the new year.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All the best.